The PlayStation 5 is getting closer and closer every day. Well, that's what we've been told at least. We've hit September and we still have no idea when the thing is releasing or how much it's going to hurt our wallets. But because it's going to be releasing any moment now, I thought what better way to get ready for a new console generation than to go back and look at my top 5 games from each PlayStation console. Let's take things back to the year 1995. I was a ripe 3 years old and the original PlayStation had finally released outside of Japan. At that point I had already spent many an hour in front of the TV, controller in hand, doing my absolute best to complete whatever task had been set out in front of me. Having dominated the Sega Mega Drive, my dad knew the next logical step was not a Nintendo 64, but a new console from Sony. So, without further ado, here are my top 5 games for the original PlayStation in no particular order. Future Cop LAPD. Now, this game takes me back to when EA were Electronic Arts and when CG cutscenes and scripts were over the top and corny. For those unfamiliar, you played as an unnamed policeman piloting X1 Alpha, the most badass shape-shifting mech warrior this side of Optimus Prime. The campaign has you fighting the crime war in 2098 Los Angeles, with the ability to change between a hovering machine of death or a bipedal machine of death. You loaded into the levels, attempted to keep the peace and take down criminals with an absolutely absurd array of weaponry and some pretty awesome boss battles at the ends of the levels as well. The single player campaign was okay and did a decent job of teaching you the different game mechanics, but where this game really shined was in a mode called
Precinct Assault.
It was a crazy 1v1 tower defense mode that I spent countless hours absolutely destroying my dad in. There were 2 bases, one on either side of the map, and to win you needed to just get one of your units to enter the enemy base.
Sounds simple? I don't think so!
As you destroy enemy units, you earn points, which are then used to craft more of your own units. You could also use those points to take smaller bases around the map, and when you managed to save up enough, you could send out one of the old Big Daddy units to do some pretty major damage. This game has stuck with me since playing it as a kid. I mean, I've still got the original copy here, and nothing would make me happier than a modern day remake. Next up is Ape Escape, a game that forced players to use that newfangled DualShock technology. You played as a kid whose job was to run around frantically flailing your net as you try and catch the siren-topped apes across time and space. You unlocked different gadgets as you progressed, and it was extremely frustrating playing this game as a kid. Looking back on it now, some of the levels were pretty complicated, and the mechanics and controls, oh my god, they were often mind-numbingly frustrating. I think the reason I enjoyed this game so much were the puzzles and having to work out exactly how to get to that next area or how to capture that ape up on the ledge when there's no clear path to them. I'm also certain Ape Escape taught me how to row a boat, and that has to mean something too, right? Because of this game, my dad had to buy a DualShock controller, and he got us one of those snazzy see-through blue ones. And let me tell you, when that son of a bitch randomly stopped working and I couldn't finish the game, it was awful. That was until we got our PS2 with the new and improved DualShock 2s. Remember backwards compatibility? How cool was that? I mean, such an awesome consumer-first strategy that just makes everyone happy, right, Sony? Anyway, Ape Escape did continue over the years with a couple of direct sequels and some disappointing spin-offs, with the last Ape Escape game released in 2010 as a PlayStation Move exclusive. Much like Future Cop, how cool would it be to have a new Ape Escape game and would be able to hold up, what's his name? Yeah, Spike, yep, that's right, I remember that. Yeah, we could hold up Spike alongside Ratchet and Jack as PlayStation icons. Numero 3 goes to Metal Gear Solid. I'd be lying to myself if I didn't include this on the list. Tactical espionage action is sprawled across the game case. It was the first time I'd played a stealth action game, and it was my entry point into a series that would go on to become one of my favorites. There are so many reasons why this game is one of my top 5. David Hayter, world famous writer of X-Men, and his raspy pipes, having to plug the controller in the second port to defeat Psycho Mantis, being told to look on the back of the game case to find Meryl's phone number, the intense 1v1 with Sniper Wolf 4, a bit later on furiously pressing circle to the point where my fingers almost fell off. Metal Gear Solid was the first game with a truly cinematic story I can remember playing from beginning to end, and it's also another one of the few PS1 games I have kept hold of since childhood. This game would go on to put Hideo Kojima on the map, and as convoluted as the story was for little old me, I had no idea just what I was in for in the years to come. While Konami and Kojima would end things on a sour note, and Metal Gear Solid 5 didn't live up to the expectations of many fans, including myself, there's no denying the original game's success and its place as one of the greatest games of all time. My fourth title should come as no surprise to anyone who knows me. Final Fantasy VII was my first RPG. It was the first time I was able to name the characters, the first time I had to choose my attacks and items wisely. It was the first time I had ever seen a game come on 3 discs, and the level of exploration and freedom after the first disc was incredibly overwhelming. I'm not ashamed to admit I didn't actually finish the game until maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and it was just as good of an experience as it was the first time I played through as a kid. The remake was one of the most anticipated releases of all time, and it did an absolutely fantastic job at recreating the experience of the first disc while adding new and fresh ideas. But the original story will never be beaten. Journeying across Gaia, uncovering the secrets of Meteor, the Cetra, Lifestream, or Sephiroth himself, they were all so mind-blowing that it's definitely still worthy of a playthrough today. If not to experience those iconic moments we've all seen plastered across the internet over the last 20 years, at least to gain a greater understanding of the FF7 universe and what we could be seeing in the upcoming follow-up parts to the remake. The amount of lore and history within the FF7 world is also what has kept me so engrossed and so interested, and I cannot wait to see what Square Enix does next with that universe. The final game in my top 5 PS1 games was a hard choice. There were a hell of a lot of good games on the original PlayStation, but ultimately it came down to another fantastic stealth action shooter. Back in the day, there was no Sam Fisher, there was no Agent 47, you had Solid Snake and Gabe Logan. Now, 3 different Siphon Filter games released on the PlayStation 1, but the best of them has to go to Siphon Filter 2. I must have played through this game at least 10 times. The opening level on the snowy mountaintop is burned into my mind, with everything right up until that goddamn final boss fight around the helicopter. While the campaign was heavy on politics and espionage, the split-screen multiplayer was where it's at. As someone who never got to truly experience the wonder of split-screen GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64, this was the closest I could get, and a fantastic way to settle any disputes amongst the family. The maps were all compact and well designed for 1v1 situations. I mean, you ran around the map to find the different power weapons, and you'd fight someone until you'd reach the score limit. This game was probably an early indication of what would become a love of first-person shooters for myself, and was one of the earliest times I can remember screen cheating. Hey, and if you don't agree with screen cheating, well, I don't know what to tell you other than you're wrong, and multitasking is a crucial life skill. So, those are my top 5 games on the original PlayStation. People might say Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy are a cop-out since everybody loves them, but yeah, everybody loves them because they're damn good. Each one of the games on this list has meant something to me in one way or another. They each taught me something different about gaming and games as a medium. What does yours look like? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and be sure to tap that little subscribe button. Anyway, I'll see you guys soon for the next part with my top 5 games on PS2. And as always, stay safe, wash your hands, and have a great day.